Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jamie Martin. Things have definitely changed, that's for sure. We've been waiting for it. Basically, we've been just kind of sitting back and waiting as far as a meteorologist is concerned, when they were finally going to put some watches in effect, especially down by the Florida Keys, and that is exactly what happened now. So now we have our first watches here in the mainland U.S., and that's going to be here in the southern part of Florida at the Florida Keys. So again, we have our first watch that's in effect, but we've had numerous watches and warnings all the way from the Leeward Islands, Windward Islands, all the way back now through Hispaniola, so Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, being influenced right now, unfortunately, by Elsa, continuing to push its way very quickly off to the west at about 30 miles per hour, for the most part, over the last day and a half or so. Very quick-moving storm, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at the app right now. I want to show you what's going on, and this does a great job of telling you everything right in the palm of your hands. And this is what you want to have, especially the next couple of days. If you know anybody or if you live in the state of Florida, you want to pay attention. Does not mean that it is coming here to the state of Florida or anywhere else in the United States, but it does mean indications are that it is a possibility. So you want to be aware of that. You want to make your plans. It doesn't mean you have to execute your plans. Have them ready, though, just in case. Very, very important. You don't have to run out right now and buy everything in the store. You don't have to worry about things like that. However, if you are at the store, grab some extra stuff just in case. That's the kind of thing we like to tell people to do. And by the way, I mean, it's hurricane season. Even if this one doesn't turn into anything, we still have an entire season to go through. Let's get and talk about Elsa right now. Let's start off right now. I want to show you what's going on with the app. I want to show you the center of circulation here. Again, there's Hispaniola. There's Haiti right now. It's just off the coast of Haiti at the present time. As I put this on, you'll see there's a look at Elsa right now. And again, we are looking at Elsa pushing its way generally very quickly, as I mentioned, off towards the west at about 28 miles per hour right now, but averaging out about 30 miles per hour. Again, very quick moving, that is for sure, and it continues to push its way quickly over towards Jamaica and eventually over towards parts of Cuba. So that's going to be the next ones under the gun here, unfortunately, for what we're going to be looking at. So again, we're talking about lots of things going on. Look at all this information it does give you here. Again, tropical storm watches, hurricane watches. We take you all the way back here and kind of come back up into this general location here, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, the Florida Keys. Again, a tropical storm watch. A tropical storm watch is now in effect for the Florida Keys. And again, from Craig Key westward all the way to the Dry Tortugas. And the Dry Tortugas, again, if you've ever visited, beautiful place to be. Not much chance to get out, though, unless you have your boat out there. That is for sure. And the big thing here is the fact that, well, let me talk to you in just a second, is that it's very difficult to get out of the Keys if something is coming your way, such as a hurricane. We'll talk about that in a second. First, I do want to take this off real quick because I do want to show you what's going on as far as chances of movement here. Here's what the track, at least the best guess is right now as far as the track goes, as it moves its way right in between Jamaica and back through parts of Cuba. And again, this is going to be tomorrow. Again, this is the 4th of July here, and that's going to be at 6 a.m. So just off of Kingston and just off in the extreme southern parts here of the eastern section of Cuba. Then it's going to continue to shift its way gradually throughout the day by 6 p.m. Again, moving its way away from Jamaica. Still going to be some problems for the Caymans. And then as we get in towards Monday morning, again, 6 a.m. Monday morning, as you can see, it's going to be shifting its way onshore, it looks like for now, right just over towards Havana here as we get through 6 p.m. And the other thing is, the storm right now, Elsa, appears like it will be slowing down because we have a big, huge high that's going to be building in, and we have an upper low that's going to be knocked over into the western parts of the Gulf of Mexico. And again, there's so many things going into play right now, and that's why you have to really be aware of what's going on. That's why we're here to tell you what's happening. Okay, let's get to Key West, though. And as you can see right now, and again, this is a forecast, so we have to watch that carefully. Again, this would be as a tropical storm still, and we are looking at about 6 a.m. sometime on Tuesday morning, just off of Key West. And then right now, the forecast brings it over here eventually towards Fort Myers, over towards Cape Coral, and again, then eventually back there towards a place to be, Clearwater, the Dunedin area, possibly right after it passes through at about 9, 10 o'clock at night, coming up on Tuesday and eventually into Wednesday as we head in towards Gainesville, Lake City also. So again, that's what we're looking at as far as that's concerned. Now, different players that we have going on right now, you can see, look at all of these rain showers, as I mentioned here. You can see these showers on the app right now. And again, that's the front. Basically, everything's going to start to dissipate. The actual low, one part of it's going to be pushing its way off into the Atlantic. The other part's going to cut off here, and it's going to be right here in the western parts of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's going to help steer the system here, Elsa, move towards the north. So as you can see how everything curves here with that actual forecasted track. That's the reason why. Slows down and it starts to turn more towards the north, eventually accelerating though once it does make its way possibly to the state of Florida and eventually up through the Carolinas and then eventually back offshore of the mid-Atlantic. But again, this is just a forecast. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but right now that is the best guess as far as that is concerned. Let's go ahead and show you right now what we're looking at. Current watches, as I mentioned, the only watch we have in the mainland U.S. that is going to be the one for Key West. And again, let me take you in a little bit closer here. So we're not seeing any watches right now for southern Florida. However, that is most likely going to change pretty quickly as we head through the overnight hours and into the day on Sunday. So a lot of folks are going to be having a really good time, having a great time. In fact, the fact that it's the 4th of July, get out there, have fun, be extremely safe with fireworks, please, and be extremely safe as far as the weather is concerned when the storm's around. But also, right now, we're not looking at any of those watches going into effect. Most likely going to see them spread very quickly into the southern part of Florida, eventually through Fort Myers, and then, of course, stretching over towards Miami, north through West Palm Beach, eventually up towards Tampa, again, Clearwater, St. Petersburg, that whole area right there, Sarasota, more than likely going to be going into this watches again coming up tomorrow because you have to be about 48 hours away from possible effect from it, and that's exactly what we're going to be looking at, and eventually back out to the northern parts here of the state itself, over towards Lake City, Gainesville, maybe even curving over towards Jacksonville, maybe staying inland and heading to the southern parts there of Georgia itself. So there's really a lot going on. And again, this is still, we're talking days away. Things can change drastically. This storm itself still has to make its way through all those large mountains. Once again, as I mentioned, back out here through parts of Hispaniola. And right now, remember, it was a hurricane. Elsa is now just a tropical storm. And one of the big reasons is the fact that it's being the interaction with that landfall, as you can see. Let me take you in a little bit closer here and show you what's going on right now as far as Elsa is concerned. So Cuba looking just fine right now, no problems at all. That is going to change. There is Jamaica right now. And as you can see, there's the center of circulation of Elsa as it continues to push its way off. Now, it's beginning to move, still moving quickly, so it's eventually going to be getting away from those mountains, and that means we're going to see it kind of solidifying once again as far as the storms go, and they're going to kind of wrap around again. Now, there are some mountains in Cuba that it's going to have to deal with also, and we are looking at the possibility of it keeping somewhat upper tropical storm strength, but you know what, some of the computer models might want to bring it even more into the hurricane zone again. So that's why you really have to be very careful as far as that goes. So again, I wanted to get on here live because I wanted to tell everybody, yes, a lot's changing right now. We were waiting for, again, that watch, that first tropical storm watch to be put into effect, and that's exactly what has happened now. So again, this is just the beginning. This is what alerts people. This gets people ready for what's going to be going on possibly over the next couple of days. So again, you want to make sure you have your plan ready. Again, you don't have to run out and execute it right now. You don't have to grab everything. You don't have to run and just, basically give up the fact that it's 4th of July weekend. I would like you to go out and have a good time, have a fun, safe time for the 4th of July, but keep in mind, things are going to be changing quickly depending on the exact track. So the folks that are in the track, the folks that are going to be affected by this, you're going to have to move pretty quickly by the time Monday and Tuesday roll around here in the U.S., especially went through parts of the Keys and eventually in towards Florida. As I mentioned, the other thing I was going to talk about that I didn't directly get into, and that was the Florida Key factor. Florida Keys, basically, I was born and raised in Florida, so I've been here for plenty of hurricanes, that's for sure. The biggest problem with the Keys, obviously, is that there's one way in, there's one way out. Technically, that's when you're driving. There's lots of ways out on your boat. There's lots of flights that leave there also. However, when you're dealing with the weekend, it's bad. When you're dealing with a holiday weekend, it's horrible. There's so many people down there. and it's 4th of July weekend. So you can only imagine trying to get everybody out of there could be a huge problem. And that's why they want to alert people as soon as possible. So if you do know anybody that's down there, or if you have anybody that's planning on going down there, might want to pick up the phone, might want to call ahead, find out whether or not they even have a place to stay, say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this upcoming week, because they could be canceling people's reservations in case there is an evacuation. Again, they're not talking about evacuations, something that's bear in mind as we go through the next couple of days. Let me go ahead and put on my glasses here, see if I can see things. Again, a lot of folks out there saying the same thing. Stay safe. In fact, Linwood, yes, absolutely. Please do. And you know, it's these things that you really have to be aware of that's going on right now. And they say, how is somebody looking for air travel on Wednesday? Okay, there you go. Elizabeth asked me, hey, how is Jacksonville looking for air travel? Jacksonville, depending on the exact path, basically what you're looking at is probably the worst case scenario, because by Wednesday it should be moving somewhere across either the northern parts of Florida or possibly even into the southern parts of Georgia, if it keeps that track. Please just remember, it can easily change. It's still way far away. One of the things I would always say, and I know don't totally judge me by this, but I'd always say I'll worry about a hurricane and be aware of it and know that what's going on days before. But as far as me thinking it's really going to affect me directly, it almost has to be coming down I-4 at the time, because they change constantly, especially when these hurricanes and tropical storms get close to land. They like to wobble a bit. And that's going to be a huge problem, especially when you're talking about Florida, because Florida isn't, say, like South Carolina, just, you know, one slice here. You know, here's the land, there's the water, the two combined. So basically, as it comes in, it can wobble a little bit, but it can't be affected as much. Look at Florida. We're nothing but this one little sliver of land with all of this water around it, the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. So basically what we're talking about is a lot of different things that can help to move this either left or right, depending on what it does. Think back to 2004, back to Charlie. That was one of the biggest things we were watching. I was working here, doing it for a TV station here, and basically we had to watch it carefully, and it wasn't really until the last second that we said, okay, it's turned. It's made the turn. It's made its way in towards Punta Gorda, and this is down towards Fort Myers, because it was just basically almost just paralleling right offshore all the way from down south of Naples. And basically we just had to sit there and wait to, you know, see what Charlie was going to decide to finally do. Charlie finally did make that turn. Once it was on shore, we were pretty confident on it going right through parts of central Florida, which it did, bringing about winds over hurricane strength. Yes, they did. Knocked down a ton of trees, especially in Orlando. Orlando it hadn't been since the 60s that we were hit directly by a hurricane. You would think Florida would get hit all the time, but it doesn't happen all the time. But basically what happens is you get the trees down and you have a lot of people that have a lot of problems. I personally was out of power for 8 days. That was the first of two other hurricanes that hit us in 2004. But it's things like that. That's why you want to make sure that you have your kits at your home. You don't want to be left with nothing. You definitely don't want that. That's for sure. Because 8 days without power. I was in downtown Orlando, right down the street from the hospital too, and the hospital had power. A lot of other places had power. I did not have power for 8 days. Even though I was downtown, you would think it would be, you know, fixed right away. No, that does not happen in the wake of a hurricane. It takes a long time. It takes weeks and months for places to recover when it comes to hurricane damage. So that's something you want to be aware of. Get things that you're going to use anyway. You know, make sure you get water. You can use water anytime you want. Just grab an extra bottle of water. You know, make sure you have it. As far as things to buy, as far as that, canned goods, buy stuff that you like. Get raviolis. You know, get something you haven't had since you were a kid, and just say, you know what, I haven't had that in like 20 years. I'm going to go get that. You know, when you're doing this, make it, you know, don't make it a dreaded thing. Make it something, I'm not going to say the word fun, but make it something you can look back on and go, man, I'm really glad I did that. You know, I really want people to say, I was aware of what was going on. I said, you know, I'm going to do this on late tomorrow night. I'm going to do it maybe on Monday. Get it done. And then if it turns, doesn't come near us, you're golden, because you've got what you need anyway for every day. So that's for sure. Let me go back over here, put these glasses back on. Let me see if I can pick some on. Let's see. Will Pennsylvania feel any effect? Pennsylvania, let me see if he might. Okay, that was from Patricia. It looks like we'll be okay as far as Pennsylvania is concerned. Again, this is all dependent upon just how much it turns as it moves its way inland. If it does indeed, that would take it up through parts of, again, northern Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Parts of the mid-Atlantic could see some problems back out towards D.C., depending on exactly what's going on. But we're talking about heavy rain. You might get some of the rain, but it looks like you'll be on the better side. The one thing you want to know about a hurricane is the fact that, or a tropical storm, is the fact that if you're on that east side or the northeast side, that's where some of the worst weather is. That's where you get the tornadoes, the better chance of tornadoes. That's where you get the heavier rains. That's where you get the flooding rains, especially. And you get those bands that come in well before the actual center of circulation. So the state of Florida, super flat. Anybody that's been here, except for North Florida, where you can call them hills. But other than that, really, it's very, very flat. So it doesn't really knock down the energy that's inside of the tropical storm or the hurricane. So you get extreme wind that sticks around. You get those bands that come in early. In fact, sometimes the winds are almost worse than as these tropical systems move through. They come through early, then you get another one, then you get another one. And every time they come through, you can be in that one spot, like 20 miles away, could only be getting a few showers, and you will be getting soaked. You'll pick up 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in a quick period of time. So that's kind of what you have to watch out for. Your question again was about Pennsylvania. You should be on the better side. And again, we could see this thing turn and stay off in the Atlantic and never affect us at all. Again, you just have to wait and see, but we want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Problem with the Mid-Atlantic, if you have any plans for that, if you're viewing us from there, depending on the actual forecast model and as far as where it does eventually go, one of the biggest problems, of course, around D.C. is the fact that you've got the Delmarva Peninsula. You've got all that water that's going to back up in Chesapeake Bay and back out towards D.C., and that could cause some problems. Alexandria, the poor town, a lovely town, and it gets hurt all the time whenever you have tropical systems because everything starts to back up and you get that flooding in the lower parts of there. So again, Alexandria, actually a very, very nice place to visit if you've never done that. Happy 4th of July from Texas, everyone. Glenn, thank you for that. Do appreciate that. And a lot of people do. And again, Texas, you guys are lucky too because of the fact that it's actually missing you right now. It looks like it will miss you guys, and even Louisiana. You guys have gotten hit so much lately. Hopefully it will stay away from you guys. At least everybody out there, you can enjoy the 4th of July. And again, just make that plan, have it ready, have it in the back of your mind, and in the front of your mind. I want you to be with your family. I want you to be with your friends. I want you to have a good time. As I mentioned, a safe time. Don't need to be, be very, very careful with fireworks. But again, have a good time and be very careful because we do have a lot of thunderstorms in some locations along the Gulf Coast still. And you want to be aware of that. Stay out there if there's lightning, if there's thunder that just gets really loud and it's right nearby, please go inside and just wait about 15 minutes to a half an hour. The rule is a half an hour, but just for me, at least if you're going for a little while, just get yourself inside, please. And if you could wait a half an hour, I would appreciate that even more. So thank you for Texas. We do appreciate that. Let's see what we got. Same again. We've got another one. Happy 4th. Always for hurricane. Oh, there you go. Somebody right now, Sandy Rose. Hey, that's nice. She's always ready for hurricanes. There you go. So she keeps her stuff already there. I like that. That's very nice. So, thanks for the Delmarva Peninsula. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. It really is. It is nice. It's amazing. One of the amazing things is there's so many people that could be affected by something like this. And again, it's just the beginning of hurricane season. But it's amazing how many large cities could be affected by things like this. They could come in, you talk about the state of Florida to begin with, but then you've got that flooding rain that goes into parts of Georgia, possibly, into the Carolinas. Same situation. Of course, you get up into the mountain areas, especially the mountains up towards Boone, Banner Elk, things like that. You can get a lot of rain up there. Charlotte, you've got that. Raleigh, same situation. Then when you get into parts around Richmond, Virginia, could see some problems there also. And again, it's just one of those things you have to be aware of, and you never know exactly what's going to happen with this thing. It could easily just continue to get lower and lower in terms of intensity. Elsa could just continue to stay even lower than it is already. Right now, all indications are, because of the fact that it's moving its way off away from the mountains, more than likely going to be keeping its strength there. So probably going to see it keeping its strength somewhere between maybe 50, 60 miles per hour as far as the maximum winds are concerned. It might make it back up to 75 miles per hour before it gets to over to Cuba. That would bring it back up to hurricane strength. Then it would have a little bit of trouble getting over the slight terrain that we have in Cuba. And then, of course, you get right into the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't know if anybody's been in the, well, a lot of people have been in the Gulf, but if you've been in the Gulf, you know how warm it is. Right now, the water temperatures are right there mid 80s. So we are talking about a tremendously very warm air, very warm water mass right there just offshore. So again, we could be seeing some intensification once the system moves its way off. And again, let me show you that real quick, because I want to go back to it if we could, because as I was mentioned before, if you just tuned in, we were talking about where this could possibly be with the forecast track when we're talking about Cuba and places like that. This is the app, and again, we are talking about it heading its way over parts of Cuba through the 5th. So again, this would be on Monday. Again, this would just be the center of circulation. Of course, the storms and the bands would be well out from there, and that's why we're looking at some problems around Key West well before that. Center of circulation possibly over there just during the overnight hours and into Tuesday morning through about 6 a.m. But as I mentioned, there it is, the islands here. Let me take you back, and you can see the center of circulation quickly moving away from Haiti right now and parts of the Dominican Republic. And again, as it continues to move over that warm water down here in the Caribbean, eventually moving just outside of Jamaica. So right in between those mountains we've got between Jamaica and the ones towards Cuba. So again, something that's not going to keep it from gaining a little bit of strength as it moves its way across that warm water into the western parts of Cuba. And again, this is all during the day, tomorrow, and into the 5th. So again, it's not happening today. It's not going to be a threat for us for a couple of days, but it will be out there, possibly heading its way over towards the coast. And as I mentioned, that's on the 6th. So again, we're talking about Tuesday here as we head through the afternoon hours. And again, this is what we're looking at. Again, this is our app. I tell you what, it's great for so many things. It's great for things like looking up hurricanes, but it's also great for looking at things like even these little blue areas. These are places that we have power problems and power outages. So again, if you're wondering whether you're the only one having problems with your power, go on here. You can check it out. So that's there. And then, of course, just on an average day, people that are in other parts of the country have a good time too, because you're not dealing with the hurricane threats for the next several months. The fact that you can get up there and you can find out about your thunderstorms. You can always see the possibility of tornadoes, anything like that. It's all right here. You can see that. In fact, let me click down in here. You can see basically all the different choices that you have that you can pick up, even stuff for aviation. And again, especially earthquakes, you can get it for wildfires. Hey, we've got all the information that you can need to stay safe out there. And again, just another quick thing we were talking about before was Delmarva Peninsula. Again, this right now is as far as the forecast track goes, but that does bring it over here. You can see Raleigh, and again, this would be up towards parts just south of Washington, D.C., possibly moving its way offshore, which would be nice. And again, moving quickly, hopefully, by the time it's looking at day 4 or day 5. So again, that's what I'm looking at with the app right now. Let me go ahead and jump back in here and see what else we can find here. Let me see if I can see a specific question. Okay, there you go. My house is in Port Arthur, and I'm still trying to get my roof replaced due to the damage from Hurricane Delta. Okay, there you go, Kelly. Kelly says, yeah, my house is in Port Arthur, and still trying to get the roof replaced after Delta. That's one of the biggest problems is that, as I mentioned when I was talking about downtown Orlando, when I was looking at Charlie, when Charlie went through, one of the biggest things was just getting home. And the other thing is, trying to stay safe with those power lines down. And the power lines were some of the biggest problems we had, but we had so many beautiful oak trees that came down on a lot of houses, a lot of land, things like that. And it's the same situation that you have to worry about. Roof damage, same situation. You got to be very careful, especially when you're talking about fixing roofs and things like that. Don't get up on the roof if you're not very, very strong and very, very agile, because of the fact that you do not want to end up in the hospital. You don't want to be injured. Unfortunately, there's a lot of injuries that occur after tropical storms and hurricanes, especially the minimal ones. A lot of people get out there and you want to clean up, you want to get things done, which is great. I totally understand that. I have a house myself. I've always been like that. If we have just a normal thunderstorm here in Florida, I run out there, I pick the stuff up, pick up the limbs that we have down and things like that. Hurricane's a little different. Tropical storm, same situation. You want to be very careful because a lot of times something that may look like at least a long twig, something like that, could actually possibly be something that fell from the actual power lines. So you want to be careful that you don't step on anything like that. And unfortunately, if you ever look it up, unfortunately, a lot of the fatalities that we have here in the United States when it comes to things like hurricanes and tropical storms is not the actual hit from it, which can happen, obviously. It's from people that are out driving and they go through high water and they end up, unfortunately, getting pushed off the road and ended up perishing from it. That's a huge, huge problem. Don't drive into flooded areas. Don't drive into flooded areas. I don't care how big your truck is. I don't care if it's the coolest looking truck that you can possibly imagine. It's the same as any other vehicle. It can get lifted up by the water. You cannot stop that from happening. So you want to stay away from that. Do not risk your life, that's for sure. Other thing is beware of power lines down. Happens all the time. When you're fixing your roof, same situation. If you're not careful, a lot of times you may be pushing stuff off of your roof, such as limbs and things like that. That could touch a live wire because those wires that you have that supply your house with electricity are electrified. If you climb up on top of that telephone pole and that power pole, you will get electrocuted. And same situation. You can't let things hit it. You have to watch out for your ladder, things like that. The other thing that unfortunately does happen a lot of people when they're out of power, they like to keep the niceties, shall we say. Things you don't want to do. Please, if you have a generator, do not ever, ever, ever put it in your garage, put it in your house. If you're afraid that your generator is going to be stolen, if you leave it outside, then just don't even turn it on. Leave it in the garage, lock it up. You can't do that. It's too dangerous. The carbon monoxide is just too deadly. It really is. And you don't smell it. It comes upon you. You won't even know what happened. And it's a very super sad thing that happens with other things all year round. So again, please, please, please don't put stuff in your house, especially generators. That's for sure. So I mean, there's a lot of things. I've been doing this for about 30 years, doing meteorology, and like I said, grew up over near Clearwater in Dunedin. So I've seen plenty of storms. Hurricane Agnes was actually one of my first ones. That was back in the early 70s. I think it was 74. But that was kind of what helped give me the itch. I was a little kid, and my parents told me, don't go down by the bay, because we lived on Tampa Bay. And my parents were like, don't you dare go down there. I'm like, I won't go down there. And of course, I was one of those kids. Kids will do it. So if you're a parent, make sure, watch the kids, because unfortunately, they will be doing silly stuff like that. You got to watch the kids. You got to watch everybody. Watch the pets also. Make sure the pets have a safe place to stay during things like a hurricane or a tropical storm, because damage can occur, things like that. You may need to evacuate, and you may not be able to bring your pet. Make sure your pet's safe out there. Get very large kennels for them, things like that. Plenty of food, plenty of water for them. If you do have to evacuate, if you have to bring them with you, make sure you bring all that stuff with you too. Things like for yourself, make sure you have all of your medicines up to date. Have a couple of weeks, in fact, is what they say. So if you have not checked to see if I still have another week before that's done. If you can get it before Monday or Tuesday, get it anyway. Just make sure you can get it, and you're all set and ready to go. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting and jumping on my soapbox, because it's one thing. I'm fascinated by weather. I am absolutely fascinated, which is what I got into weather for. I used to watch water spouts, out in the Gulf. Experienced hurricanes. I've experienced just like I've pretty much had every single kind of thing I could. Over 100 inches of snow over one season. So I've seen a lot of things. But yeah, one thing you really want to give homage to here are hurricanes and tropical storms. You really got to be careful with those, because people, it's going to be hot afterwards, and if something were to happen, a lot of people are going to be getting a little bit ornery because of the fact that if you don't have power and you're sitting in Florida or any other part along the coast, and you don't have any power for 8 days, it's really hard to stay cool, if you want to say it that way, as far as that goes. So make sure you're ready. Maybe even to go somewhere if something does happen to your house and you can leave and go to a relative's house that's a few hundred miles or something like that. You may want to do that too, because it's nothing worse than sitting in that heat, because it doesn't last long before you get a little bit unhappy. Let me jump in here and see what else we got. Okay, that is very true. And I will say, yes, in Florida, they do have hurricane parties. They really do. And you know what? It's almost like, it's kind of like 4th of July as far as I'm concerned. You know, if you're doing it safely, obviously, and you're doing it with friends, family, whatever, do it, of course, but do it well before it comes in. By the time something is coming in and you do see it as coming to a certain point, once it's a warning, let's put it that way. If you're underneath a tropical storm warning or a hurricane warning, that's not really the time to continue to have fun. You guys can do whatever you want in your own house, though. If you're in your own house and you're not planning on driving anywhere, as this storm is moving closer, and you're going to stay and ride it out inside that house that you're in or on wherever you are, that's fine. Do whatever you want to do in there, but just make sure you're prepared, because it can always be a problem otherwise. You know, that is really kind of how it is. So, but I really am kind of jumping on my soapbox. Sorry about that, but you know, it is known for that. Let's see. Oh, the lightning. Very good. Nice. Very good. The lightning layer. Yeah. That was one thing I actually took off. You know what? Here, if we jump back on here, Damien, I'm going to turn this back on our app. What's that? Oh, okay. Hold on one second. Let me put this back on so the computer will see it. There we go. Okay. You know, it's funny when some of you actually noticed. Very good. You get a gold star. That's for sure. Basically, what we're talking about, he or she, sorry, was talking about was. Is it still there or not there? Okay, so there's the flashes. Oh, you know what? It's starting to. That's why. Yeah, I do not need series in there. Hold on one second. There we go. Hold on. You guys are really going to be like, what is he doing? Okay, that's better. Thank you, Damien. Damien was telling me, I couldn't understand right at first, but Siri decided to make a guest appearance. So Siri and I are very close, I guess. Yeah, but if you get on here, the one thing you could do is turn that lightning back on, and that is a really good help too. It also helps tell you where we're seeing some of the storms. But again, you know, anywhere around the state of Florida right now, we've got plenty of showers, plenty of thunderstorms rumbling through Tampa, all the way back to Orlando. Deltona saw some pretty heavy rain. New Smyrna not looking bad right now, but as far as getting your fireworks underway, could be a problem in through parts of Central Florida, that's for sure. Let me see if I've got any more specific questions. There we go. Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. And people say, you know, it looks so cool. You know, it really does. It's really kind of cool. I do love the fact. I love the fact that, you know, it's like you can learn stuff from things like this. You know, there may be stuff you haven't had a chance to play with yet, and never even thought about doing it. It's one of the things where you can learn more. Just by getting out there and investigating and exploring, and that's kind of what we're here for at any time. So I will let everybody get back to their evening. Really, just have a very fantastic Saturday night. Have a great Sunday. Also, again, I'm going to be with you all day tomorrow, all day on Monday. In fact, I'm planning on being here till the middle of the week. That's for sure. And before I get a break out there, but that is just fine, because that is what I love. I love the fact that weather is so fascinating to me, and it's that kind of drives me. That's for sure. So just sit back, relax. We'll keep you abreast of all the different situations going on, and make sure you're out there. Like I said, we're going to probably see more watches go into effect. If not tonight, probably tomorrow during the morning or in the early afternoon. We'll be aware of that. We'll let you know about those going on. But again, no warnings in the state of Florida or anywhere else in the mainland U.S., so we're not worried about warnings right now. But that was our first watch again. That is a tropical storm watch, and that is down in the Florida Keys. So we'll keep you situated. The situation at least close to you, let you know what's going on with that. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy your holiday weekend. And I will undoubtedly see you tomorrow. That's for sure, because we've got unfortunately, more activity heading our way over the next 24 to 36 hours. I'm meteorologist Jamie Martin from MyRadar. We'll see you back here tomorrow.